What's going on, guys? It's LtBuzzLitebeer, and today we received the entirety of the Title Update 9 patch notes, and I just wanted to run through them with you all and give you some thoughts and general comments on many of the items. And as always, if you haven't yet smashed that sub button for dedicated Division content, please take just a second to do so. And don't forget to click on the bell icon to receive all notifications from my YouTube channel. And with that, let's begin. Alright, so we got the full patch notes for Title Update 9 today, which is going to be dropping tomorrow, April 21st. Patch size, looking at updating from what, 8.5 to 9, probably about 10 gigs, with a fresh install between 70 and 80 gigs, depending on the platform. So pretty big update. I imagine it's probably going to have a lot of bug fixes, UI elements, things like that. Down here, first item, new features, exotic reconfiguration. This was covered on stream this past week, I'll say, of the game, when we had Nikki Cuppins on there. And I also did an update video, I believe last week as well, concerning exotics. But essentially, we're going to have the opportunity. You will now be able to upgrade exotic items to level 40, as well as re-roll their attributes with this new reconfiguration system. Available in the crafting bench. Find out more from our dedicated article here. So anyway, if you click on the link here, it'll take you over to that article, and it tells you how you'll be able to do that. So you essentially be able to buy reconfigure blueprints over next to your crafting bench in the base of operations. Use exotic components, other materials, and you can actually update your exotics up to level 40, as well as re-roll their attributes, which I'm looking forward to because this is really optimistic looking right here with this Bullet King. What is this? 13% LMG damage, 10% damage to targets out of cover, and max crit hit damage. Yeah, good luck on finding that one, right? Mine are about halfway on the one Bullet King I have been able to source. But anyway, down into here, game balances. We're over here to exotics, named items, and talents. Anyway, Sawyer's knee pads. I covered this on a video last week. I'll leave a link to that video in the description below. But Sawyer's knee pads were first up. They still maintain the cannot be staggered by explosions, which is certainly helpful if you want to tank it up and push in on things like, I don't know, Black Tusk drone operators or something like that. But the other talents that it had were absolutely useless, so they're being reworked, and this is going to become an offensive set of knee pads, especially if you want to hang back and, I don't know, maybe pop away with your M1A or your marksman rifle. But it increases total weapon damage by 3% for each second you are not moving, stacks up to 10 times, so that's 30%, and stacks are lost when moving. So if you like to attach to cover, maybe you want to hang back and use vigilance or something like that, this could certainly stack up some weapon damage for you if you're into that. And it says this exotic only provides a defensive attributes and no brand bonus. Of course, no exotic, I guess, applies a brand bonus. So now it has the potential for high damage and makes it appealing to both red and blue builds. Okay, so anyway, the old version didn't provide enough engaging gameplay. This change could help with that. Not really sure I'm going to be using Sawyer's knee pads even with the new change, but hey, let's try something out because nobody's using these things right now. Imperial Dynasty, this is probably going to be a controversial one right here. Reduced cooldowns to 35 seconds down from 40 seconds. And as a lot of you have figured out, skill haste is actually applying to this and is actually reducing the cooldowns even further. I'm presently using this not in PvP. I refuse to use it in PvP, but I know it gets pretty toxic when you run into somebody in the DZ that's consistently setting you on fire as you try and close the distance to them. But I use this on my PvE burn build, and it is really effective, especially with the backpack. Which one is that? The backpack down here, Creeping Death. So I actually use Creeping Death on it as well. But having this reduced to 35 seconds and the fact that skill haste applies to it, I'm going to see that is probably going to be the meta, if it's not already, going in for PvP. Just heads up. And it's going to start showing up a lot more on skill builds. Once again, developer comment: this buff is to better compensate for the lack of brand bonus. Of course, no exotics have a brand bonus, so I don't know why we're putting that in there. Dodge City Gunslinger, reduced charge up time to 30 seconds from 50 seconds. Yeah, I don't see this really affecting so much. I don't you know, if you want to make a really specific pistol headshot, max damage, you know, just one shot and you're done build, maybe, but how many people are actually going to run that? I don't know. I liked it back in the old days when the Dodge City holster had like accuracy, reload speed, it had headshot damage, it had a bunch of little things that really promoted using, and you had to use a revolver versus just a sidearm. I really don't think this is going to do much. They need to stack up a couple more things in here, like maybe a revolver, because it is the Dodge City Gunslinger. Obviously, they didn't have pistols back in those days when they're running around with these holstered revolvers. But maybe a revolver, maybe some headshot damage. You know, put a few extra things in here to incentivize it. The fact that the charge-up time is now basically cut in half, that's cute, but I don't know. I don't think it's really going to push that many people to actually use it. Included in this video I did last week was the Diamondback reworked, and it now grants all shots guaranteed crits for 5 seconds after hitting a mark. And the developer comment, the Diamondback is underperforming. That's because of the M1A, and this change could make the bonus a bit more exciting. I'm going to disagree with that. This is a fun gun to use. I love using the Diamondback, but it's very situational. The M1A is so damn strong right now that you'd really be foolish to kind of use this, because you can push out even more damage with an M1A and not have to worry about the wicked slow rate of fire and the reload times, and etc., etc. I personally have an issue with the Diamondback in that it consistently picks targets that marks targets that are off my field of view. They're way over around the corner, maybe behind cover or something like that, and that's the target that it chooses to mark instead of something that I'm aiming at directly in front of me. That's one of the issues I have with, I mean, you can go ahead and shoot the target in front of you, but that's my big issue with the Diamondback. It's very situational. It's fun to use. I mean, who doesn't want to use an 1886 lever action rifle? But I just don't think that's going to draw a lot more people back to it. The fact that you get guaranteed crits for 5 seconds, I mean, crit is the king right now. Crit is the meta. Maybe more people are going to use it, but I'm going to say no. Merciless Ruthless, it's getting a buff. Explosion damage increased to 1200%, up from 900%. Okay. Yeah, I don't see a lot of people actually switching back to this either. This needs some more in the mechanics over here. The Merciless was fun when you could stack into explosive damage, and that was what your build was built around, and you could use that method of hit one shot, you know, hit the primer, miss the detonator, hit the primer, and anyway, stack it up to 500%, and then finally hit the detonator round, and then all that explosive damage was applied to the target. But since it's been changed around quite a bit, it's not as exciting for me personally, and I experimented with a lot of these. I'm big into skill builds, so I don't know. I'm probably not going to use the Merciless, even with which looks like a 33% buff to the explosive damage. It says down here, developer comment, explosive damage doesn't scale with crit stats. No kidding. So boosted to compensate. I don't think it's going to force a lot of people off of like M1As and things like that, because it's just so strong, and crit is so strong right now. Lady Death no longer enhances turret skills. I mean, that's a no-brainer. That shouldn't have applied to that. Bullet King, base damage is now same as the non-exotic LMG version. That's the Negev, and that is actually a buff. So the Bullet King actually had damage that was not on par with the Negev, and if you had a really low Bullet King and a really high Negev, you would be a fool to use the Bullet King. So it's not very much. It's maybe 1%, somewhere in there. It's just a little bit lower than the Negev, but that is actually a good thing. To bring it on par with its, its base version cousin, I guess. Exotic attribute roll quality. All exotics will now roll at the highest possible minimum roll, regardless of the difficulty they are obtained in. I'm going to disagree with that. Exotic items can still roll higher than the minimum, but minimum rolls are now higher. Okay, so basically they're lowering the minimum rolls, and we've all seen that on Twitter. I've been the victim of this as well, when if you looted the BTSU gloves from certain spots, or like caches or something like that, then the attribute rolls were almost as low as they could go, which takes, I guess, all the fun of getting exotic out of the equation. I mean, you see it and it's absolutely worthless. You're just going to break it down. So I guess they're lowering the minimums on everything. I personally, because I play almost exclusively on heroic up onto legendary, I would have liked to have seen even higher possible minimum rolls be adjusted for the global difficulty settings. No offense to anyone that plays on normal or hard or challenging, but I think if you're taking on the top, I don't know, 10% of what the game can offer as far as difficulty and up into legendary, which is right now the hardest anything that it can offer, I think those attribute rolls and the minimum rolls should be even higher when exotics drop. I could also go into the fact that purples are dropping all over the place on legendary, but that's not included in this title update, and I wished it would have been. So I guess this is a positive thing. I mean, it's good to see that we're not going to get those really, really low exotics anymore, hopefully. But I would have liked to have seen something to do with global settings or even the mission difficulty settings on how the scaling of these exotics and even just the loot in general that you get in these missions. The harder the difficulty, the better the loot I think you should be eligible to get. I'm not saying you're entitled to, but you know, the lower the roll, the lower rolls should, you know, the base should move up. That's just my personal opinion. If you're going to take on the hardest stuff, you're going to take on, you know, a heroic with 3, you know, directives, 4 directives. If you're going to take on legendary, you deserve a chance at higher attribute rolls on your gear. Not saying you're entitled to it, but you deserve a chance. All right, so moving on, talents, tag team. Did you even know there was a tag team talent in the game? I did, but I'm just playing with you a little bit. The last enemy you have damaged with a skill is marked. Dealing weapon damage to that enemy consumes the mark to reduce active cooldowns by 6 seconds. It used to be 4 seconds. Does not consume mark if no skill is on cooldown. I've dabbled with this. I don't see this changing. I don't see this really being used by any skill build users. I know they're trying to entice people to use it, but it's just not nearly as good as something like Trauma or Overwatch or Unbreakable or even Glass Cannon. I can't see somebody picking this to run around with. Next up is Reassigned, which gives another buff. Killing an enemy adds 1 round of special ammo into your sidearm. Reduce the cooldown to 15 seconds, down from 20 seconds. Once again, a skill that nobody uses. Killing an enemy adds 1 round of a random special ammo into your sidearm. Yeah, I don't see this changing for anyone. These two I don't use. I don't see people using these at all. Another skill build talent, Tamper Proof, has been reworked. Enemies that walk within 3 meters of your hive turret or remote pulse are shocked. For those of you that had the 4-piece with the body armor and the backpack for hardwired, pre-TU7 somewhere in there, this was actually included. And when you threw your, especially like your hive, or in my case when I used to run it hardwired with this build, was with my turret, and you threw it out, it would electrify, and that way when the heavies would run over to it and try and kick it, it would actually shock them and incapacitate them while it continued to do damage on them. It was a great portion of hardwired. They've now removed it and made it into a talent of itself. I don't know. Arm time is 2 seconds, increased cooldown per skill to 10 seconds, up from 5 seconds. Once again, I don't know if that's going to be very beneficial for your build. There's so many other things you can do right now with CC build, especially blind. You can run, you know, something like bleed. You can run like even the Imperial Dynasty holster, catch things on fire. There's a lot of other things you can use to CC heavies outside of Tamper Proof. And then Empathic Resolve has been buffed. Repairing an ally increases total weapon damage and skill damage by 3 to 15% for 20 seconds. So they doubled the uptime, up from 10 seconds, 1 to 7% if self. So this is a big change for those of you out there running Empathic Resolve that want to buff your squad. So increases their weapon damage and skill damage by 3 to 15 seconds, up for 20 seconds, up from 10 seconds. So that's a big change right there. So I see more people are going to be using Empathic Resolve. Developer comment down here, currently is difficult to keep a high uptime, very true, and 4-man content as non-tank players try to be as safe as possible, and NPCs have higher lethality, so chip damage is less frequent. Yeah, so basically if you're running 6 skill tier, you have no extra armor, you have no extra health, you're basically hanging in the back and you're trying to buff your squad mates. That's why they've changed Empathic Resolve. Creeping Death, oh boy. I love this talent. When you apply a status effect, it is applied to all enemies within 8 meters, up from 5 meters of your target. Reduced cooldown to 15 seconds, down from 20 seconds. That's huge. Overcharged talents now properly state they don't work in PvP. So this is a big change right here. It seems so small, but the fact that you pick up 3 meters of radius, I guess, around you, or around the target that you're applying the status effect is huge. Reduce the cooldown by 25%. That's also huge. Creeping Death was near a tier 1 talent, especially for skill build CC status effect users. It is now a tier 1. This is going to be mandatory. Just my personal opinion, nothing's mandatory, but that is a huge change for Creeping Death. Next into the name items, we knew these were coming. Contractor's Gloves, damage to armor lowered to 8%. Wow, okay. So I believe that was at 11%, so it's gone down 3%. This is a multiplicative bonus, so that hurts even more than that 3% shows. That's a big change, but these needed to be adjusted. Like the Hollow Man, the Fox's Prayer, and the Contractor's Gloves, because as they referred to them on the State of the Game, this was the Holy Trinity. You basically ran these, even though you weren't even using those weapon archetypes, because of these multiplicative damage bonuses. Firm Handshake, status effects increased to 15%. Sure, that's great. Ammo Dump, this is a special named holster you can craft. Now correctly rolls 2 additional attributes. Perfect. Claws Out. I actually looted one of these in the DZ the other day. Now correctly has a skill tier core attribute roll. Okay. Now correctly rolls an attribute in addition to pistol damage and melee damage. Okay. Melee damage increased to 400%. Woo! Okay. This might actually make melee builds viable in this game. I'm not saying that we need to go out and craft one up right now, but this could be actually kind of interesting. That could be very interesting, especially if you're using like a speed boost or something like that. Like if you're running around with Lady Death or something like that. Melee damage increased to 400%. That's huge right there, y'all. Claws Out. We're going to have some fun with this once TU9 drops tomorrow. Fox's Prayer, damage to out of cover lowered to 8%. I believe that was, what, 15%? So that got cut in half. Once again, a multiplicative bonus. What the max you could get on, what, an LMG or something, or other weapons outside of LMGs was, what, 10%? So it's kind of like a weapon attribute roll. All of these changes in here are gonna promote some different play styles, some different builds. The Hollow Man, damage to health lowered to just 10%. This is huge. Remember, this was the Y'all DZ specific mask. You had to go farm for it. It was really difficult. Anytime masks were the loot that you would find over in the DCs, Hollow Man, everyone was in there looking for it. Damage to health lowered. It used to be 21%. It's been cut in half to 10%. This is very situational. You can use this on like Razorback, what else? Doggos, many of the tanks that don't have a specific armor bar. They've just got these huge health pools. This was helpful to that. But other than that, the Hollow Man mask didn't do anything for you. It was just very situational, but it was certainly a very sought-after piece. It's about a 1% drop rate, if I think I remember reading that correctly, in the DZ. So when you found them, it was something special. This has been nerfed dramatically. A Punch Drunk, headshot damage increased to 20%. I would have liked to have seen more, especially if you're going to run around with a pistol. Which this applies to. This is the D&H mask. Was it what it used to be, 15%? I would have liked to have seen like double, 30%, especially because headshot damage is not king right now. It's crit. So if you want to promote people actually attempting to hit headshots and promote accuracy, this would have been, I think, better served with even more than this. And then the send-off, this is RIP for skill build users. The send-off removed perfectly rooted talent. It's been completely removed. So if you've been running around with a send-off holstered to pick up what the 30% extra skill damage and what duration or something like that, or status effects, it's gone. It's completely gone. So just take that off of your build. I'm pretty sad about this one. I know some people out there don't run skill builds. I love skill builds. I love speccing into haste and duration and status effects and that whole facet of the game. It's one of my fortes, and this hurts. This hurts a lot. Wow. I got to figure out how we're going to recover from that one. All right, next up, weapons. Assault rifles obviously are not the meta right now, and they will continue to not be the meta. They're going to be stronger, but they're not going to be as good. So assault rifles increased maximum roll of damage to health to 21%. And then it says players on Stadia will not see it be displayed correctly and instead see an increase to damage to health on other weapon types. This is a UI issue only and will be fixed with the next client update. Okay, so great. For those of you playing The Division on Stadia, God bless you, you're not going to see the UI correctly. So this was, what, 11%? It's now up to 21% for assault rifles, so they doubled that. I still don't think it's going to put assault rifles on par with LMGs or with marksman rifles, especially not with the M1A. I mean, so it's certainly a step in the right direction, but you can easily outpace these assault rifles right now, especially with like a well-rolled Negev or a classic M1A with whatever you want on them, with like Boomerang or something like that. They just do so much more damage than the assault rifles. Step in the right direction, but I still don't think it's going to put it on par. Gear sets. White buff armor repair lowered to 2 to 3% once every second for true Patriot. This is a bit confusing because it's not specific to PvP or PvE. It's just a general nerf across the board for true Patriot. Yeah. I don't know where they're going with this one. I mean, I do know where they're trying to go with this one. They're trying to reduce the fact that you basically turned into a repair tank, and then you paired it with the Pestilence, and then you were putting out massive amounts of damage that would stack on and cause that bleed effect or the tick effect over time, and while repairing your own armor. I think that's really going to hurt it for people trying to tank it up in PvE. If you're running around with a shield and you rely on that, you know, for sustain, that really hurts you. I understand. I guess I'm reading between the lines. I can kind of guess that they're trying to reduce the toxicity around this gear set and the Pestilence, and that's the important thing. It's not mentioned in there. Maybe the Pestilence is later in the notes, but true Patriot built into armor regen paired with the Pestilence was the problem, because you were regening so much armor, and then the Pestilence was pushing out so much damage. Yeah, I don't think that was the issue. I think this was like a knee-jerk reaction right here. I don't think this is going to fix much for PvP. And it sounds like it's hurt it badly. It's reduced the armor repair by almost 2/3, even for PvE players. So that is not good. Main missions: Pentagon and DARPA Research Lab. Lower difficulty to be more on par with other missions. Okay. Liberty Island, lower difficult to be more on par with other missions. I personally haven't had any problems with these. I play these on Heroic. I played these on, I've joined other people's streams, like I joined Sage's stream the other day. We ran through Liberty Island on Heroic with no issues. I mean, we just blasted right through it and tore up Keener at the end. Pentagon and DARPA Research Labs. Once again, I play this on Heroic. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's specific issues that I haven't been seeing with these two. Obviously, at the end of DARPA, the boss at the end of there, Brenner, he's difficult. I've commented on him before, the fact that he has so much armor, and he comes out and he just basically tanks right in on you with that SMG that absolutely destroys you. Wall Street reduced health and damage to the APC. Once again, I don't know much about why this was put in. I played this on Heroic as well. Just, you know, some good battlefield movements. You can get in behind the APC, especially over there on the right side as you run in and take cover in that column area, and you can take out what is the left side of the APC and the back of the APC from there. And the stranded tanker, once again, NPC composition has been adjusted. I don't understand this one. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I thought it was pretty good. AI and NPC, signature weapons against named NPC. Slightly increased damage signature weapons deal to named enemies. Thank God. This gives us an actual reason to break these things out and hoard the ammo to the end boss encounter, because it was absolutely awful. They did nothing. It was basically like shooting cotton balls. Elite NPCs damage against player skills. Reduced damage elite NPCs deal to player skills. Okay. Tank sprint speed. Yeah, these guys were like Usain Bolt, all in these huge body armors with all the tanks and everything on their backs. Reduced sprint speed of tank archetype from all hostile factions. That's a really good change. NPC shotguns, yes, reduced damage of all NPC shotguns. That's a good change. Adjusted range of some NPC shotguns, including shotguns used by Black Tusk rushers. Once again, those were not in balance for the rest of the game. These guys would just run right at you. They were hip firing, just blasting away with superb accuracy and tons of damage. Status effects, reduced duration of poison and cleaners, napalm, and snare. Okay, so that's from the turrets. They shoot out with that goop that locks you in place when applied to players. Okay. Special ammo signaling. Any NPC with special ammo has the same UI indication as from the special ammo directive. Examples of who this affects: outcasts who pick up special ammo from boxes. Okay. Bounties who spawn with special ammo. Okay, that sounds good. Rogue agents. Oh, please tell me there's something good with rogue agents. Significantly reduces the armor of dynamically spawning rogue agents. To prevent this from being too large of a nerf and 3 to 4 player co-op, a rogue agent can spawn with an armor kit who can repair their armor up to 70%. Slightly reduce the damage output of dynamically spawning rogue agents. Okay. Rogue agents to me are right now in mission. In the open world, they're a little different, but in mission, they're an absolute waste. I probably went through about 50 runs of Stranded Tanker over the last 5 days to finally get my Imperial Dynasty holster. I probably on about 10 of those had rogue agents spawn in. I was in a group of 4, so obviously 4 rogue agents. They're pretty tough, especially on heroic difficulty. Got lots of skills and everything going out there. The issues I have with these guys is when they show up in the mission, they basically waste your time for no loot. Like, you can kill all 4 of them. I've seen it where I've gotten no loot, not a single piece of loot, or it's been like 2 pieces from one rogue that we killed, and they were both really subpar. So I think if these guys appear in the game, in the missions, they need to drop significantly, or at least dynamically scaling loot to the mission you're in, because they don't. Sometimes they don't drop it at all. They're just there to, I guess, extend the mission, and I don't agree with that. In the open world, they're a little different. They do drop loot, but once again, I can't remember a time that I've actually killed off rogue agents and received anything of significance. That's just me personally. And then NPC buff allies ability change. Previously, certain bosses and bounties would magically overheal themselves and their fire team. This buff allies ability lacks clear messaging. Okay, so it has been replaced with a leader overheal ability. This is the same as the Riker's leader. Okay, once the boss leader is killed, all their friendlies lose their overheal. The UI indicator is pulsating. Yeah, okay, so I guess this is a UI change. Loot rewards, increased power of dropped exotics to always be of the highest tier, giving the highest minimum rolls. That's a good change. Added Operation Dark Hours raid gear sets, chest, and backpack items to the general loot pool, making them available outside of Operation Dark Hours. Once again, that's a good change, because it's not a lot of players out there that can actually get 7 other people that are geared up as them to go do Dark Hours. So the fact that you can get the chest and the backpack in the open world, I'm for that. Lower number of exotic components for deconstruction to match the cost of exotic reconfiguring. Okay, so in the past when we broke down exotics, we got 2 exotic components, excuse me. Now it looks like it would, because reconfigure costs 1. Looks like you're going to get 1 for 1. So if you break down an exotic starting tomorrow, instead of getting 2 EXO components, you're only going to get 1. So if you have any exotics you want to break down today, I would recommend you do it. Lowered conflict XP amount from PvP weekly projects to match the required XP for 1 conflict level. Yeah, okay. So looks like we're coming up with more reasons to get people not to do conflict. Okay. Blueprints combined all skill mod blueprints of different qualities into a single blueprint per skill, scaling quality with that of the crafting bench. Okay. So I guess we're scaling everything up to finally to match up with level 40. Added skill mod blueprints for the skills introduced in Warlords of New York. Once again, a good change. Added blueprints from the general blueprint pool to first-time weekly completion rewards of invaded missions. Okay. And added blueprints from the general blueprints pool to the rewards of daily projects. Skills. The sharpshooter's tactician skill base radius has been increased to 50 meters. Okay, so what is that? That's the drone that goes out and scans everything. All right. Scoping is now enabled when using a shield skill. This is small, but it's down here. So this is how they handled focus with those running around with the Crusader shield, is now when they ADS with that M1A with the 35% headshot damage from the sharpshooter specialization. Now it's actually going to go into scoped mode. You can still use it, though. You can still use focus. You're just going to scope in. It's an interesting fix. All right, gear and skills. Fix several magazine attachments not attached to. Okay. Fix several scopes being offset on multiple weapons. Fix a mission animation. Okay, these are general things. Let me read through these. Fix an issue. Okay. This is big right here. Fix an issue causing the glass cannon gear talent to amplify all healing received. That's a big one. It's kind of buried in there. Perfect overflowing. Fix the text of the Acosta's go bag. One in hand to correctly state that the buff triggers when the grenade is thrown. Yeah. Which is how it's always worked. I guess the lore text has always been incorrect, so that's the way I've always done it. Essentially with the Acosta go bag, you can just throw a grenade, and if you're on skill tier 6, it'll throw you into overcharge. Causing knock when having the poker face backpack talent of aces and 8s gear set equipped. I mean, this is big. The backpack needed to be fixed. But still, aces and 8s is not as good as just running around with a straight damage build with like an M1A. Maybe once the M1A is fixed, you can go back to aces and 8s. I personally don't use it right now. Fix an issue causing a nemesis exotic not trigger focus gear talent. This is big because focus should stack on top of the damage buff from the Nemesis exotic as you hold down the trigger longer and longer. Muzzle flash. Okay. Okay. Demolish friendly decoys. Okay. Never had that happen. Carnage. This is a big one right here. Fix the text for the booster hive to now correctly state that it delivers a stimulant to nearby allies that increases their weapon damage and handling. Most people don't know this about the booster hive. This is big right here. It boosts weapon damage. But it just doesn't, the UI doesn't show it correctly, so most people don't know. Okay. So that's for the Dodge City holster. Oh, here's something about the Pestilence. Fix an issue causing the Plague of the Outcast debuff of the Pestilence to transfer to a lower amount of stacks under certain circumstances. I thought maybe they had done something with Pestilence. That would have been paired up there with True Patriot, but it wasn't. Be nice to animals, y'all. Okay. Gameplay, whole bunch of changes down here. The Violent Delight. Crashing issues. Angel of Mercy contaminated area. So these are like issues with, I guess, you know, glitches and things like that that are in the game. Fix an issue causing specialized skill specialization skill mods to not scale correctly at level 40. Yeah, I would say that, because when you look at those, they're absolutely awful. Any of the skill mods that come with your specializations on level 40, they're basically level 30 level. That's a big one, you know, because those were a lot of bang for the buck. before title update 7 and so on. Okay. I'll let you guys read through these. I'll probably just include the patch notes down in the video description. Localization. Okay, great. Audio. I'm having serious audio issues on Tombs right now on PC. I'll tell you like that right now. All sorts of issues. Also on Tombs, I'm erratically seeing Black Tusk spawn in the first, I think it's the, not the delicatessen, what is it? The cafeteria area. Sometimes I walk in there and there's a heavy Chungus and a couple other Black Tusk running around in the middle of that mission. I don't know how they make it in there, but they're making it in there. So missions, they're just talking about they fix different stuff. I saw something in here as I was, there it is. Remains stuck in the federal emergency bunker on challenging. I think I saw something as there's Pentagon mission, elevator doors. I commented on that in one of my previous videos. Dark hours, fix an issue causing Razorback to not drop any subsequent keys after defeating it once. That's a big change. Fix some issues with buildings. This is open world stuff. I'll let you all read through that. Dark zone and PvP. Okay, Shade Agent nameplates are now visible. Okay, Rogue Agent nameplates are now visible 30 meters. Manhunt nameplates are now visible 50. These values can change depending on Dark Zone perks. Fix several props. Fixed a prop that could cause players to become stuck and immune when dropping from a certain location. Okay, Vanity and Store, AI and NPC. Fix an issue that caused players to become immobilized with riot foam of enemy NPCs through cover. That's a big one. Fix several issues where enemy NPCs would not shoot at the decoy. I guess that's a big one. And performance issues. Fix several issues causing low FPS in various side missions, or more like the DZ in general, anytime somebody extracts. Fix the streaming issue. Okay, Meet Faye and Rhodes. Okay, Parkway. Okay. So there you go. A full rundown of TU9. There's some good stuff in here, but not a whole lot of changes. I would have liked to have seen a little more dramatic as far as some of the changes on there. Things like Sawyer's knee pads, I don't think people are going to use them. The Diamondback needed more. Imperial Dynasty is absolutely insane, going to go even more insane. I don't think people are going to really use Dodge City anymore like they did before. I mean, Merciless still, it's going to be a very niche portion. Creeping Death was big. Named items changes are all big, but they needed to happen because that was the Holy Trinity. I don't think that's enough for assault rifles. True Patriot, I'm confused by this. There's the big part of this equation missing over here is when paired with the Pestilence, and it's not in there. And then everything else are the changes over here. So I think it's probably a good time to stop the video here, and I think it's going to wrap it up for this review. And as always, I look forward to reading your thoughts in the comment section below. If you haven't yet done so, please smash the sub button and don't forget to click on the bell icon to receive all notifications from my YouTube channel. If you feel like supporting my full-time YouTube content creation, please check in the video description for links to my Patreon page and Teespring merch stores. Follow me on Twitter for all my latest thoughts concerning most things gaming related, with a heavy emphasis on the Division franchise. And until my next upload, this is LtBuzzLitebeer signing off.